Nobody puts the tanker truck on a poster. There are no museums for it. No parades. No songs written about the man behind the wheel. But without it, every gas station goes dark. Every farm shuts down. Every factory stops cold. For most of the last century, the fuel that kept this country alive didn't move through pipelines. It moved on the back of a truck. It moved at 4 in the morning, in the rain, in the snow, and the dark, driven by a man you never met, hauling a load most people never thought about. That fuel ran the tractors that brought in the harvest. It ran the trucks that carried that harvest to market. It ran the cars that took families to church on Sunday and to work on Monday. From the post-war highways to the long-haul 80s, these machines showed up every day and never asked for credit. They were the quiet backbone of a country that ran on gasoline. These are 7 American tanker trucks that fueled the nation, mile by mile. Before we get rolling, if you appreciate the machines that built this country, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it helps us keep telling these stories. Now, let's get to the list. When the war ended, America came home hungry for fuel. The factories that had been building tanks and bombers turned back to building cars. The men who'd been overseas came home, got married, and bought houses in brand new towns that hadn't existed 5 years earlier. New cars, new roads, new suburbs. All of it ran on gasoline, and somebody had to carry it. The white Model 3000 was one of the trucks that answered the call. With its rounded cab and that long barrel-shaped tank riding behind it, it became a familiar sight on the fuel routes of Esso, Mobil, and a dozen other brands. It hauled gasoline out of the refineries and into the towns that were growing faster than anyone could believe. It pulled into the corner station before dawn, filled the underground tanks, and was gone before the first customer ever showed up. It wasn't glamorous. It was a working truck for a working country, built by a company out of Cleveland, Ohio, that had been making trucks since before most folks owned an automobile at all. But every time a family filled up for a Sunday drive in 1951, there was a good chance a white 3000 had been there first, in the dark, doing the part nobody ever saw. That's where this story starts. If there's one truck that defined the golden age of the American highway, it's the Mack B61. That bulldog on the hood meant something out on the road. It meant the load would get there. It meant the truck behind it was built to take a beating and keep running. Through the 50s and deep into the 60s, the B61 hauled fuel for Texaco, for Sunoco, for Sinclair, for every brand that lit up the American roadside in red and white and gold. As the new interstate system stretched across the country, the B61 was already running it, carrying gasoline from the refineries on the coast all the way into the heartland, keeping the pumps full in towns that most drivers only ever passed through. And it earned something that's rare for any machine: real loyalty. Drivers loved the B61. They trusted it. They'd take care of one for 15, 20 years, because a truck that good was worth keeping. Mechanics knew it inside and out. Companies bought them by the fleet. For a whole generation of Americans, the sight of that Mack Bulldog rolling down the highway with a full tank of fuel behind it was simply the face of the road itself. The B61 didn't just haul gasoline. It hauled the country into the modern age. Out west, where the distances were long and the roads were lonely, the Peterbilt 281 carried the fuel that made the open country livable. Built in California, the 281 was a needle-nose hauler with a reputation for going the distance, and it won a lot of them. This was the truck that moved gasoline across the deserts and over the mountain passes, through country where a breakdown wasn't an inconvenience. It was a real problem. The towns out there were small and far apart, and they depended on that fuel to survive. Without the tanker rolling in on schedule, the gas station ran dry, the farm equipment sat idle, and the whole rhythm of a remote community fell apart. The 281 driver knew that. He knew people were counting on him, even if they never thought about it. Now, a lot of people would recognize this truck without ever knowing its name, because in 1971, a 281 tanker became the silent villain of a famous Hollywood film, chasing a lone driver down an empty highway. But long before it was on a movie screen, it was on the job every single day. It hauled the fuel that tied the far corners of the American West to the rest of the country. And for the men who drove it, that wasn't a thriller. It was just the work. By the end of the 60s, the The country was burning more fuel than ever, and the trucks had to keep up. The cities were sprawling. The suburbs were spreading. Every new shopping center, every new subdivision, every new factory needed gasoline and diesel delivered, day in and day out. The old trucks were good, but the job was getting bigger. The GMC Astro 95 was built for that new world. It was a flat-faced cabover, which meant the driver sat right up over the front wheels with no long hood out in front of him. That design let it haul a heavy tank through tight city streets and still run the long interstate miles without complaint. The squared-off cab tilted forward to reveal the engine underneath, built for the men who lived in these trucks and worked on them with their own hands. Through the 70s, the Astro 95 hauled fuel into the booming cities and the growing suburbs, feeding a nation that had built its entire way of life around the automobile. By then, America didn't just use fuel, it depended on it completely. The whole economy moved on wheels, and the wheels moved on gasoline. The Astro 95 wasn't pretty. Nobody pretended it was. But it was practical, it was tough, and it carried the load that kept the lights on in a country that never slowed down. Some trucks just look like America, and the Kenworth W900 is one of them. That long hood, that tall chrome grille, that upright, no apologies stance. By the 70s, the W900 was the truck a driver dreamed of owning, and plenty of those dreams spent their working lives pulling fuel. This was a truck built to be owned by the man who drove it. An owner-operator who'd saved for years could put his name on the door of a W900 and finally be working for himself. And a lot of them did exactly that, hauling gasoline and diesel up and down the interstates, building a living one load at a time. Then came the oil crisis. In the early 70s, the fuel supply tightened, prices shot up, and gas lines stretched around the block in cities all over the country. People sat in their cars for hours just to fill the tank. And through all of it, it was tankers like the W900 that kept whatever fuel there was actually moving to the pumps. When the country was anxious about running out, these trucks were the reason it didn't grind to a complete stop. For the men who drove them, a W900 wasn't just a job. It was a point of pride, a machine built well enough to be worth taking care of, worth keeping clean, worth handing down. It carried the fuel, and it carried the dignity of the people who hauled it. If the B61 defined the 50s, the Mack R model defined the workhorse years that came after. For 2 solid decades, the R model was simply everywhere, a no-nonsense truck that hauled fuel and chemicals across every kind of road this country has. It didn't ask for attention, and it didn't get much. It just ran, year after year, in every kind of weather, on every kind of route, the kind of truck a company bought, put to work, and kept running long past the day it should have been retired. There was nothing flashy about it. There was nothing it couldn't handle. The R model showed up every day and did the job, and that was the whole point of it. Behind the wheel of an R model, a driver could spend an entire career hauling the fuel that powered the factories, the farms, and the fleets. He'd haul gasoline to the stations and diesel to the truck stops. He'd haul heating oil to the towns in the dead of winter, when a late delivery meant a cold house. He'd haul the chemicals that kept the plants running. It was the backbone of the bulk fuel business in this country, the truck that did the heavy, unglamorous work while everyone else looked the other way. And it did it for 20 years without ever once asking for credit. And then there's the Peterbilt 359. For a whole generation of Americans, this is what a truck is supposed to look like. If you close your eyes and picture a big rig rolling down the highway in its prime, there's a good chance you're picturing this exact truck. Built from 1967 all the way through the late 80s, the 359 became the undisputed king of the open road, and a huge number of them spent their entire working lives hauling fuel. Long hood out front, a gleaming polished tank behind, twin chrome stacks catching the morning sun. The 359 pulling a load of gasoline down the interstate was the single image of American trucking at its absolute peak. It looked the way the work felt to the men who did it, proud, powerful, and worth doing right. And it went everywhere. It fueled the city stations and the country crossroads. It fueled the farms at planting time and the truck stops at 3 in the morning. It rolled through every state in the Union, in every kind of weather, carrying the one thing the whole country couldn't run without. When people picture the trucker who kept America moving, they're picturing a man in the cab of a 359. It hauled the fuel that built the modern country. And it did it with a kind of pride you can still see today in every lovingly restored 359 that pulls into a truck show, polished up and gleaming, decades after the last one left the line. Of all the trucks on this list, none is more loved. And the thing is, none earned it more. 7 trucks. 7 machines that hauled the fuel that kept this country running, from the post-war boom all the way to the long-haul 80s. They never got the parades or the posters. They just showed up every day, in the dark and the cold, and carried the load that powered everything else. The farms, the factories, the families on a Sunday drive. None of it moves without the fuel, and none of the fuel moved without these trucks. They were the quiet backbone of the whole country, and most people never gave them a second thought. So the next time you pass a tanker out on the highway, give it a nod. It's still out there, doing the job nobody thinks about. Now we want to hear from you. Which one did we miss? Drop it in the comments. We read them all. And tell us where you're watching from. What town? What state? What part of this country are you in? If you remember these trucks from the road, the gas station, or the job site, if you drove one, fueled one, or just grew up watching them roll through your town, tell us your story down in the comments. That's the best part of this whole channel, and it's all of you. If you made it this far, do us one favor. Hit that like button. It really does help this video reach more people who'd appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed yet, fix that today, because there's a whole nation of machines still waiting to be remembered, and we are just getting started. This is Built by America. We'll see you on the next one.